Yeah, that makes sense actually.
Yeah, amazing. So the idea, of course, being that we're just going to save meetings for people and make it more accessible for people. We're just going to hopefully go through the back end, like we've just done, show us like, for example, how to update things, update charities here, for example, add charities. I mean, really, it's about just making sure that people understand how, the back end works with regards to Cherry and how that's going to be moving forward and how that's going to be managed. So I don't really want to ramble too much because this is your
Yes.
work, this is your hard work, and I think you know it best. So um, maybe I just like join in, and I want to just be able to every occasionally just intersect, ask questions, and because I'm learning as well in this process. So
Yeah.
yeah, without further ado, if you want to take it the screen, I'll stop sharing and maybe we can just walk through it together.
Okay. Coming. So I'm trying to create a. I think that will also be helpful. So I'm trying to create like a PowerPoint. So I want to just. I'm almost done with it.
Yeah, yeah, that's fine. No, I appreciate that actually. That's really nice work.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay. So please give me some few seconds. I want to open the door for a friend.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's the fine, no problem at all.
Okay, thanks. Hello.
Hi, you right, mate?
Okay. Yes. Yes. I'm ready now. So I'll just share my screen.
All good.
Okay.
Cool. Okay. Sorry, one sec. I've just been getting on with updating some of this stuff.
Okay. Nice.
Should be, yeah, we should have that in now. Cool. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah. Nice. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I let you crack on. Sorry, I keep coming in just going like, oh, nice. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah. So I think okay. Yeah. So this is the beginning. Are you recording now?
I am. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I think some people were asking that, oh, why do we need a backend? Because we initially thought to use Firebase for everything for the MVP basically, even though we know that we still need a backend, but we decided to use Firebase at first.
Hmm.
So yeah, so but the reason why I would like say yeah that we now really need to even have the backend now is because the product man yeah so there are some number of reasons basically why we now need to actually have the backend, so we'll be looking into that. Then also the tech stack, the architecture, and how to contribute. Yeah, so for the need for a backend, so so the first one is like the user and product management. So sometimes we need to maybe we want to check the users that we have. We want to maybe manage their status and some things like that. So, and for our current use case, we need to add categories. We need to add charities. All of that cannot be done. We don't even have functionality to do all of that on the app or on the front end. And also, um it is like it's also good that we have just limited access to database. Not everybody have access to the database or like manipulate the database, because that's like the source of truth. So it's good to like limit access to it. So it's better that we have maybe more like a back end, and yeah, so we could manage some of those things from there. Then like the create product, for example, I think it has some complex logic, which if you are doing all of that on the front end is even prone to errors and some things like that. So it's better we move such logic to the back end. Yes, I already mentioned limit access to database. So another one is the future. So later we'll be managing things like order, we'll be managing payments, and potentially we'll even need to have an admin dashboard where we could see everything that is going on behind the scene. Yeah, so so those are some of the reasons why we need a backend, and also to avoid maybe vendor locking. So if everything is being done with Firebase inside the on the front end, it's harder to basically switch. Yeah, so but with the backend, we can easily switch the database at any time we want to do. We just probably need to do some data migration. Yeah, so the tech stack. So we have the Node.js and Express as the server. So we have TypeScript as the programming language. We have Firebase. So currently we're using Firebase for the user and token management. So token management is necessary for some APIs. So when we are trying like an unauthorized user, for example, should not be able to create a product. For you to be able to create a product, or for you to, let's say, have access to products on the app, you need to have been signing. So if a user wants to, let's say, like if you want to call the and create product endpoint, for example, we need to that user needs to be checked and say, oh, is this an authorized user? So for that, we need to undo token management, and Firebase already will undo that by default. So we need to use the token management functionality of Firebase to basically authorize users, to ensure that only authorized users can have access to our resources. So where we need the Firebase admin. So on the app as well, we're already using authentication for login and sign up. So
Mhm.
yeah, so that part we left it on the app, but that same functionality is available on the back end as well, but it's still talking to Firebase authentication, while the app is also talking to Firebase authentication. So for that as well, if we decide to say, oh, Firebase authentication is now becoming more expensive, and we want to have our own custom authentication, we can just switch Firebase auth from the back end to our own custom authentication, and the app will now have to use that, right?
Mm.
But currently, yes, so we are still, since the app is already using it and we are fine with it, we just did the same thing on
Exactly. Yeah.
on the back
And
end.
just to step in there, because I completely obviously agree with you. And I think that's the best direction to do right now is, we don't have to stay with Firebase forever. And obviously we're all aware exactly how expensive Firebase can get, especially
Yes,
when you start to actually scale.
yes,
And one of the big concerns that we may likely face is, how much is a user's data costing us to store in
yes,
contrast to how much they're spending on the platform. And of course, like anything, you're going to have users that use the platform like crazy. They're obsessed with it. They know they can get
Yeah.
really amazing deals, crazy finds, everything, and change their wardrobes, save money, that sort of thing,
Yes.
raise funds. But then you're also going to get people who download it, give us a load of information, probably upload a ton of items, and then just never look at it again. And that's going to obviously, with time, be a costly endeavor. So obviously, this all comes down to how the people and ultimately how the customers use our systems. But I also like to think that let's just be on the safe side with this. Let's use Firebase for now, and in the future we can change this. So I think your direction here is really, really wonderful.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's more like the thought process, so that you don't want to have something that you can't easily just change. So
Mm,
once you have all of those things directly mocked, like directly tied together, like coupled together with the app on the front end, it means that once when we are now maybe even ready for, like, we want to maybe scale further, we have to
mm,
rewrite a lot of things, like we have to
exactly.
write a lot of things here. So but so in this, using this approach, it means that we don't have to um rewrite so many things. So it's just going to be easy anyway, since the backend is already there and some functionalities have already been abstracted to the backend. So even if we want to do some backend change, let's say we switch the database, just as you mentioned, to, let's say, a different database, for example. But since the app is calling the backend, the app doesn't know what has happened. The app will just still call the backend the same, and the backend will still return the same data, even though we have switched the database. But the app doesn't know anything about it. But if everything is inside the app, so it means that if we need to change database, we have to go to the app. And in the first place, you can't even use any other database within, like, the app, because
Mm,
Firebase is acting here not just as a database, but also as a backend. So it's more like database or backend as a service, something like that. Yeah. So to just avoid just those so much heavy
mm.
backend logic, yeah, inside the front end. So it's just better you just switch them out. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, 100%. Cool, nice one. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so yeah, as I mentioned, also we are using Firebase Firestore currently as the database. And okay, so there's one more. We are also using Firebase. Yeah, so this one is fine. We can always just use this one, which is Firebase storage for assets management, e.g. the pictures, right? So it can be user profile pictures or our category icons, things like that. So they are stored in Firebase storage.
Charity logos and that sort of thing as well.
Yes, yes, yes. So we also have Google Cloud Run for deployment, which is, so we support like 2 million requests free per month. So I know potentially it probably takes a longer time when we have so many people using the app for we to hit this limit. And
Exactly. Yeah, we've got time for now.
yes, and even if you hit the limits, the way they do it is like, they charge based on usage, like paper go, like paper use. So which means that, let's say we now have another 100 requests aside the 2 million. That's probably some 0.00001 dollar that's they will charge. So they just charge you as you go, which is better, instead of having to, let's say, have provision a server that, whether you use it or you don't use it, you pay £7 per month. You use it, you don't use it. But this one,
Yeah,
pay as you
it's
go, is better.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a telephone contract, right? Like you
Yes.
you keep it for as much as you need, and you don't go over. And I think in this context, that works perfectly.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah, so we already see our Swagger docs, which is for documentation. And we have some env files for like configuration management. So you can like maybe for now we probably still have maybe more like the same things in the env file. So we have the env for development and env for production. So they help us for to keep maybe some of our keys. So these things you don't want to expose this thing to GitHub because anybody can have access to the code on GitHub. So you don't want these credentials to go out there. Then there are things like ports also, or things like Stripe secret key, which we'll eventually use like later when we are handling payment. So those things are stored in the
Wait, just to confirm, this is okay to go in the video, right?
that's true. I think I'll put this part actually.
Okay, I'll put a block over it. Don't worry, or
Okay.
something. But yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, the guys can
Yes.
access this. Anyone can access this. Through the back end if they were
Yes.
to want to anyway. So.
Yes. And I think the way we have done it is that when I'm pushing this code to when I'm pushing this code to GitHub, right? So there's
Mhm.
git ignore file. There's a git ignore file that say the ignore look out for anything that has env and ensure it doesn't push it to GitHub. So which means that so there are some things that you don't want to push to GitHub. All of them are recorded inside the git ignore file. So that's why you will not see these files in on GitHub. So if it is there, that's probably it probably means this thing is not working well and we need to fix that. You get
Okay. All right. Well, good to know then. Yeah, but yeah, we'll maybe the video will stay unlisted. I think this one, and people can see it as they like, and only team members will be able to access it via Notion. But
yeah, notion.
um, what do you think? Should we still cut it out or?
Yeah, I think we should. I think we should, yes.
Okay. All right. That's fine. No problem.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Okay, yeah, so the next thing would be yeah, so the architecture. So we are following like clean architecture. So clean architecture is also kind of what the app uses. So it is to ensure that like you prioritize like you prioritize your domain while other things move around the domain. So the domain here, so we have the domain here is more like our core business, which is so here we have let's say product. So product is more like a domain. So I we try to like separate everything like into layers. That's another thing like that clean architecture promote like it's good to separate things into layer instead of just having multiple things like everywhere. So we have two high level structure, which is like the module. So the module contains like the actual domain, like authentication, products, category, order. Yeah, so and we also have the shared. So the shared is also more like a folder, but it has things like the shared classes that maybe multiple modules might want to use. It has the middleware. So the middleware is like an example of a middleware is the authentication middleware. We want to ensure that you if you don't have access to a particular like we want to ensure that some resources are protected and not just like only authorized users should have access to them, and we'll have something like that across different module. So for example on the product like all the endpoint for products will be authorized, all the endpoint for let's say order will be authorized, just so that so if you are not authorized you cannot just access, you cannot just get the product or create the product. So because is it so we need to be checking each of them. So instead of having to repeat that same code, we could just put that into like an authentication middleware which each of the modules we use to just ensure that like those modules are protected. They will also have like some configuration files like the Firebase config file. So all of that are in the shared file. So each core module, which is like the most important thing, so each of the module, let's say product, for example, as a repository. So we already know that the app uses Firebase behind the scene, or like our data is being stored in Firestore. But how does that data that is stored in the Firestore, how do we have access to it in the backend? So we can have access to it. So the first thing is that we need to create a data representation of that data in Firebase. We need to create a representation of it in the app, using the model, right? And the repository can also interact. It has a direct access to Firestore, so you could just tell Firestore. Firestore already has some commands that you can use, so you could tell Firestore that, oh, give me all this data, and so the repository have direct access to like Firebase Firestore. Yeah, so basically interacts with the data layer. So even if we change the database, for example, the repository should can interact with the database basically, and can also have maybe some database commands, some database query and all of that. Yeah, so the model is the data representation. So we have category, which is like a model. We have product, which is a model. Um, So this is routes. So routes listening to like specific HTTP methods like get, post. So if you need to get a data, so that is get. If you need to maybe create a data, that is post. If you need to update a data, that is put. So it's just to ensure that we don't have everything in one class, like we just one class is just handling everything. So that's why we have the routes to just handle that specific task, and we have the controller that handles the request and response. So when you click on execute, for example, that data that you are sending, it first goes through the request, it first goes through the controller. So we have like the product controller that gets the request that you are sending. So if I go to this, for example, and let's say I want to create a category. So this item here, so if you see here, it is called a request, right? So will this request gets to the yeah, so the request goes to the controller. Then we also the request goes to the controller, and it pass
Hmm.
that to then the controller does a lot of things, then pass that to the repository if the data is fine. So we also have, let's say, a validator that ensure that the data are sanitized. So if you enter an invalid data, for example, it will just like say, oh, this is not correct. Yeah, so we have a lot of validations. Then we also have service. So there are some times that we want to like have maybe use multiple repositories. So for example, when I'm fetching products, each of the products has a category, each of the product also has a charity. The
Hmm.
product itself does not the in the database we have the products, we have the products. So the product in the database does not store charity and does not store category. It only store like their IDs. It only
Right.
store like their IDs. Yes. So now for me to know the charity, the charity included in that particular product, I need to access the category. I need to access the charity, the charities model as well, right? Or the charity repository. So there are sometimes that you want to use multiple repository. So you probably need a service to like orchestrate or like undo maybe those multiple repositories together. Then the controller will now like talk to them. Hello, can you hear me?
Awesome. Yeah, yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, how it works is that when a request gets to the backend, gets to Node.js, Node.js forwards that to the Node.js will look at, oh, what do you want to talk to, or
Mm.
what action do you want to perform? So if the action is specific to, let's say, controller, let's say category, it will forward that request to the route. The route
Very well.
that's yeah.
Sorry, yeah, I'm following along. So yeah, so it would request to the root option, and then
Yes, yeah, it will, yeah. So basically, me, I'm even calling the root. So maybe if I say I want to create a category, for example, I want to create a category, for example, that means I have called the post category. So the controller gets that request to know the route to even use. So once the controller gets the request, he knows what should I use. Should I use the get? Should I use the get or should I use the post? Yeah. So I think once the app gets that, once the app gets the request, it forwards it to the right controller, either the product controller or the category controller. So the
mm,
controller gets the request, then it tries to maybe do like it passes it through the correct route, and try to do some validations to ensure everything is fine.
okay,
Then if everything is fine, then it's send it to the repository, and the
right,
repository will now talk to Firebase. But if some things are wrong, we should not even talk to Firebase at all. Yes, that's
right.
basically what we have here. And there are
So
sometimes
would
that
it? Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, you can continue. Yeah, so there are sometimes that when the controller gets the request, um if um uh if we are not if we need to maybe use multiple repository, that means we forward it to the service do all of the information. The service is still using the repositories anyways. Behind the scene, the repository talks to Firebase. Once they will get a response from Firebase will respond with sources or an
Mm,
error. So when it gets success, that means okay, Firebase say we are fine. Then that response will be sent to the controller, and the controller will send like a response to the user. But if it is an error as well, you also send it to the controller. The controller find a way to undo it and also send it back, so we know
oh,
what
that's
has
good.
happened. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, brilliant.
Yes. Okay.
Fantastic.
Thanks. Yeah, so we have the app.cs. So this more like yeah, so this is the yeah, so this is the app.cs. So the app.cs kind of like aggregates all the like features. So we have the auth features. Even from here you could see the current features we have. So we have the authentication module, we have the charity module, we have category module, we have product module. So this kind of yeah, it kind of like aggregates all the modules together, all the individual modules together, because even though the modules are separated, the app still need to find a way to know everything that is going on. So it's been done through the app.cs.
Mm,
And yeah, so at the app.cs also talks to the server. So this is the main Node.js and Express server. But yeah, so the app talks to this, and yeah, that's it.
okay.
Uh,
Nice.
um, yes, so I think before I go to how to contribute, so based on this architecture, so each of the modules, so that's how we'll be doing it. So if we want to create another one tomorrow, let's say the order service, right? Let's say the order module, which will be
Right.
responsible for managing our order, right?
Hmm.
So it's going to follow the same, it's going to follow the same architecture, the order repository, and you already know that the other repository is going to be talking to like the Firebase. Yeah, so we are going to have the data representation, the model. We are going to have a route for it, a controller, a validator for it.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Hmm.
so yeah, that's the structure. So I think it makes it easier for anyone to just like contribute once you maybe have some experience with Node.js or backend.
Yeah,
Become
and like
yeah,
you say, it's like if there are any sort of errors that come with that, it can potentially fix them itself as well, like you were saying through this error system. So it either comes back with a response or it tells you what's wrong.
yes.
Um, to me, hearing it, I think it's a good direction for the architecture. Yeah.
Nice. So if I look at one of them, let's say the category, very simple one. So it has the repository, which so if you see this repository, you see that it has a collection name called categories, right? So and you can see that it has a reference to Firestore.
Yeah.
It has a reference to Firestore, and it knows the collection name. So this collection name is the collection name we are using in the actual database, which is Firestore. So if I go to Firebase and console, say, so if I go to category, so this one of the category, so you could see that you can see these names. This is a collection. So each of them has a name, a collection name. So we need to just use this collection name, which is what you are saying here, right? And so Firebase already provide like several ways to talk to their services. So yeah, this is how to get all the data from Firebase. Just need to say you have to talk to the database. Basically first connects to the right collection, then you now do a snapshot, give me all the documents. So each of the data is a document. You can see each of them is a
Mhm.
document. So you are saying, hey, this Firestore, give me all the documents. Then so once I get all the documents, I will now, yeah, I just basically get all the documents. So and the way we undo it automatically, it handles the when you create that item, it's going to have a created date, and when if you update it also, it's going to add an updated date. So you just undo all of those things like automatically. So the repository basically talks to Firestore, then it now like pass that data to, let's say, the controller. Yeah,
Okay.
so you can see the controller is talking to the repository to get
Yes.
all the data. Yes, and if you check the repository again, you see that it knows what it wants to fetch. It knows it wants to fetch
The
category.
categories. Yeah.
If I click on it, this is it here, which is the model. Yeah, that is the model, which is like a data representation of the actual database. So if you go to the actual,
Yeah, representation in say in the architecture where you yeah have a representation to then relay that.
yes, you then relate it exactly. So you can see name, image URL, created out, updated out. So the same thing here, and it kind of follow the exact structure. There's also an ID. So yeah, so you can see this is the ID. Firebase create that for us to automatically, so that each of the item is unique, and we don't have to like manually create it by ourselves. So it just manually generates a unique ID for us, which I can get, because if I need to maybe update or do anything on that item, I will need you to send me the unique ID so I know the actual item that I need to maybe update or yeah.
Sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. Or if say in the future customers need support or something, perhaps it's ways you can take a look at certain
Yes,
items. But I
items.
guess in the real now moment, yeah, that's it's a way we can use it to identify items if
Yes,
and when developers and ourselves start to upload items to the system and play
yes,
around with it and see what's going on. Yeah.
yes, definitely yes. And we have some validators, so you could see here. So even though this will never happen anyways, but then we have validators that check the type of name you are entering, the type of image that you are entering, the type of like, yeah. So you say a name should be text, like a name cannot be number, like that does not make sense.
Mm. No,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so things like that, yeah. So that's like what the validator does. And in the routes, yeah, so you can see the route is calling those validators to check that they are fine. And so once they are fine, it will now have to like, so the route does a lot of things. The route is the one that even handles like the authorization middleware to even check if the user that is coming have access to that request that he wants to call before he now pass it to the controller. So because the controller is just basically now calling the database, then it will get a response from the database and just return. It will get a response from the database and return that response. And also, if the database return an error, it will just return the error as well. Mm.
Nice. Yeah. Perfect.
Okay, yeah.
Lovely.
So that's more like the the architecture, controller, model, repository, routes, and validator. And if you check the app as well, we try to do something similar to the app. So like we have the model, we have the view and the view model. So the view model provide like data to the view model, and I think there's a repository layer that talks to the external environment, like this database, for example, or like Firebase. So the repository is in charge of that. And sometimes we also have like maybe some classes that undo some things so that all the code will not just be inside the repository. So you could see here, for example, now this Firestore as like it's talking to Firestore, but this way, this is not the like the Firestore configuration, and a lot of things has been done somewhere else. This is just having a reference to all of those work that have been done. So we have something similar like that on the app, whereby the app has, let's say, the we have something like a Firebase service that undo all the Firebase management. So the repository can just get a reference to the Firestore
I
to the
saw.
Firebase service. Yes, then you could now have access to any Firebase stuff that he wants to maybe talk to or use. So that ensures that you don't have like so many things in one page. So
Okay.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's some of the things that we have done on the app. So we already have that clear separation, and we're also doing maybe some form of dependency injection to ensure that if the controller, for example, wants to use the repository, it doesn't just like manually instantiate it. Like it goes through a dependency like injection, something like that. So all of that has been done in the app. So that's why I was saying that time that like if you actually really understand the thought process and what has been done in the app, you will know that like I know there are some very few you will know that it is fine. So there are some maybe some in terms of architecture, maybe there are now some few things like the themes and ahead. So just basic things like that, but not like, oh, we need to change the entire architecture, because even if we change it, there is no guarantee, or like there's like it's not like you will get maybe a performance improvement by you changing to something else, right? So why don't
Mhm.
you just use something that like is simple, that if one actually take their time to look at one of the module and they look at another one, they could see similarities, and they could easily know, oh, how to just contribute in that type of application. So it's better than to make you consider this looks simple, but at the
Yeah.
same time, a lot of work has gone into it, and we also ensure there's some clear separation for some certain things. You understand? So that is good
Yeah.
enough. So you don't have to now make it so complex that, oh my god, anybody that wants to contribute to this project, if you don't have like 5 years experience of Node.js, you can't even touch it. Like it's
Yeah.
not a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, and exactly. We want to make this as accessible as possible for people, so that people can both, gain experience and contribute to something meaningful without having to be absolute wizards at everything. So,
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So even though like some maybe some compromise, just like I said, we're being like, so there are some compromise there, but then like those things are there by purpose, just so that things don't get so complicated. And most of the time, when you even check the advantages of those things, they are kind of insignificant. So it's just like developers, oh, I need to make this like this, I need to make this like this. And also there's now a time when you now know that, okay, oh, like you will even see it, like the way we work in the office, for example, we use data. So everything that we are doing, we know the things that are not so perfect, we know the things that are perfect, but like most importantly, there's data. We are tracking everything, so that once you get to a time and something that maybe is not potentially the way we want it, but maybe now is perfectly fine. You might not get to a time when that thing will start like misbehaving, and we know that, oh, based on the data, we could say that, oh, this thing now we need to change it. Then we change it at that time. So not that not having a solution for a problem you don't even have. Like that's just
mm,
yeah.
yeah, it's time consuming, right?
Yes, yeah, it can be, yeah. Okay, cool.
Nice.
Mhm. Okay, yes. I think okay, yeah. Yeah, so I think that's basically how to contribute. So you can clone the
Yeah.
GitHub, set up the files. Yeah, check GitHub issues for issues to contribute to, and I
Mhm.
know like everything has been all of this has been documented in the GitHub README file, anyways. So yeah.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But yeah, 100%, and it's there for people to get involved with, especially that cherry back end. So I think yeah, if getting people involved in that where they can and seeing where things go from there is going to be really great and a fantastic next step for the team. So yeah, amazing. Thank you.
Yes, thanks. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think we could stop
Yeah,
recording this.
fantastic. Yeah.
Mhm.
No, I genuinely really appreciate that, Jamal. Thank you. And yeah, really, really insightful discussion there on the back end, architecture and the logic behind it, the decisions to go down this route. I completely agree. You know, the Firebase Firestore is the best option for now. And it's set up in a way so that if we do want to look at changing in the future, we can. I think, like we say, we still got, 2 million requests free of charge. So we should be all right for now. But
Mhm.
yeah, there's plenty of different opportunities out there, and I think with regards to as of right now, I think that we're in a really good position for this back end. So I really appreciate you running through that with me, and hopefully with everyone else viewing this. And yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Some really great stuff, and I'm really excited to get to work on this back end and maybe I'll contribute myself a bit here and there, and
Yes.
even make sure that we can actually get this off the ground because I see this happening in the very near future.
Yes, 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 yes. That's cool. Yeah, yeah. So I think currently for our MVP, so we have the modules that we need. So we need the mode of product management is already available, the charities, categories, and authentication. I
Authentication.
think that's like the first phase. So maybe when we should be able to create a product and see that on the see that on the home, and someone should be maybe yeah see that on the home. So I think that's like the first thing. We could maybe play with that, fix any bug we need to
Mm,
fix with that. Then we could now maybe move to the like maybe order, maybe actually now maybe placing an order for the item. But yeah, before we do
mm.
that, we just maybe walk around this product management for now, yeah, and see where we go
Yeah,
from there. So I think yeah, it's
exactly.
that way to just to work that way, right?
Yeah, exactly. There's plenty of things we can get involved with on the back end, and I think that
Mhm.
one of the key ones, Infinity of my face, amazing. Yeah, one of the key ones is exactly that product management, making it so that in the near future, our team can upload products and we can see them and interact with them to some small capacity. That's going to be a really powerful next step. And one of the final ones before pitching. So
Mm,
that's when everything will start to fall into place, I believe. We'll have everything at a point of which, um, can we continue without funding? I believe so.
mhm,
However, this is going to be the milestones that get us much, much closer to the opportunity of funding because
mhm,
we will be
mm,
able to demonstrate that, look at what we've been able to do. Plus, we've got this like amazingly architected back end that's got responsiveness and charities and categories and products and yeah so again why this next step is so meaningful, so powerful, and why I'm so excited to get started.
mhm. Yeah, good, 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 good.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, is there anything else you can think of for now?
I think I'm trying to see what we need to do. So let's say
Mm,
aligning this with the app. So on the app, so looking at each of the features, so we already authentication. I think authentication is being covered, so we already decide to just instead of having to talk to backend with that one, since we have already implemented it directly with Firebase, fine, we could just leave that for now. So the next one is, let's say, the I think, yeah, so we have created issues for the for like for using the backend, like consuming the backend API for categories and charities. So we already have issues for that. So maybe if we get someone to maybe pick that up. Then the
Yeah.
last one is now the product management, which is maybe create a product. I think that's potentially what we need, and get our product. I think do we have issues for get. Okay, yes, yeah, yeah, we have. I did that. I actually did that myself. Yeah, so yeah, so we only need to create, which I think Matt is looking into that. I know we have some
Mm.
discussion on that particular issue.
Yeah, he mentioned taking a look at some API. So
Yes, yes, and I think I mentioned to him that, because so when you are creating the product, the users are uploading. The user will be uploading, let's say, an image for that particular item. So there are two ways to handle. Maybe the image will be attached to the product, but what is essentially attached to it is the image URL. So
mm,
yes, so how do we? So the question there is, how do we undo the upload of the image and attach it to that product? So there are two ways that we do that. So sometimes we used to send those images. Once we get it from the user on the app, we send those images to the backend. We send those images to the backend. The backend will do the upload. For the backend, we do the upload. The second approach is the app itself does the upload and send the URL. Like Firebase will return the URL and it sends that URL to the backend. So I have done both of them in the past, but I found the last one easier, because like it's easier for the app to just do the upload, get those URL and send it to the backend. Because sometimes when you are trying to send like because image is a large payload. Sometimes when you're trying to send a very large payload to the backend, you start out, like the server will start misbehaving because the payload that is too large. So there are some
mm,
workarounds around that, but everything is still a bit slow anyways.
right.
It can be slower. Yeah, and another thing we used to do is to maybe compress the image before we send it to the backend. We'll compress it. But
Okay.
if you have to, let's say, send it to, if the app has to send that image directly to Firebase, so we might not need to compress, or even if we are compressing, it won't be as much as the compression that we are doing to like the one we want to send to the backend. So I think it's better to just like send those things to Firebase storage directly, and once that thing is done, then you now send the URL with the other product information and send it to the backend. And I think I also kind of asked ChatGPT that, oh, what do you think? Yeah, so I added like the yes, like I just captured the best one, which is what I'm also kind of supporting. Yeah, well, yeah, that's from AI anyways. And
Okay.
also that's also like what I'm kind of leaning into. Yeah, the solution that I think is best. So I just add that to that same issue. So in case maybe someone else look at it and I was like, oh, how are we going to undo the image
Mm,
up with the product? Yeah.
right. 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 Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Nice. Definitely. And yeah, I think moving forward, we can. Yeah, we'll take that on. And yeah. By the way, I don't think there's anything wrong at all. Obviously, with using these sort of systems and softwares out there now. So
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Makes sense.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I use them all the time. I think it's really helpful. But yeah, absolutely. I think that's everything covered for now. Then, right?
Yes, 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 yes. I think actually once we have those like APIs, maybe especially the main one is still that creates. Once that create is sorted, I think we'll be done with this phase of MVP. So the next one will now be actually testing it. Yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, possibly in 1 or 2 weeks we could get there.
Amazing. That is. Great to hear. And yeah, absolutely. Let's get this back end looked at. That don't ever put that in the wrong context. And yeah, we can then yeah, actually get this done. And yeah, like I say, really great timing on everything. So yeah, really looking forward to this next step.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks so much. Yeah.
Thank you, Jamal. Thank you so much for your time. And yeah, thanks to anyone else watching. And yeah, absolutely, this is going to be a great next step. So I'm looking forward.
All right. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye. Enjoy your
Cheers.
evening.
Take
Yeah.
care.
Bye.
See you later. Enjoy your evening, mate. Thank you. Bye bye.
Yeah.